Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Essence of Present podcast once again. My name is Lexi, and with me today, as per usual, I have my bird Pico. So if you do hear chirps in the background, don't be alarmed. It's just my little yellow Quaker parrot. This podcast is being posted on YouTube and Spotify, so if you do want to see my little bird, go straight ahead onto YouTube to see him pop his head up a few times and sit on my shoulder. So today my episode is about why is healing so uncomfortable. This is such a common question that people ask themselves and ask the people around them, mainly because healing is such a difficult thing to do. And I do find it could be difficult to almost start the process of healing because it's so daunting, and we're so used to being in a certain spot in our lives. So, for example, if we're so used to being in a negative spot in our lives, then we're going to automatically be incredibly used to having this negative aura around us and this negative view of the world. And the thought of healing from that and the thought of being positive just throws us off because we don't know who we are when we're not negative, right? And just the thought of being happy is whoa, that's crazy. And it sounds silly in a way that we almost avoid it, but in reality we can compare it to just daily life. Like when we start a new hobby or we're starting a new activity or we're learning a new skill. Like let's say if you want to start learning how to crochet or knit or draw, the process itself can be daunting or scary because we don't necessarily know where to start. We don't know how to go about starting to do a crochet project. We don't know how to do it, right? So it can be scary and I'm gonna avoid starting this new project because I don't know how to do it and I won't be perfect at it, so I can't do it, right? It's that perfectionist side of us, and it's the side of us that refuses for us to make a mistake. And we always want to be perfect, we won't start a new project or we won't start a new skill or learn anything new because we're too scared to fail. We can easily compare that to healing, right? Healing is a scary process because it requires us to go down into our deepest, darkest paths and thoughts of our lives. It requires us to go down this road that we're not used to and learn these new ways of living that we're not used to. So it can be scary and it's uncomfortable because learning anything new is uncomfortable. Our mind is so easy to build this habit of negative thinking and negative self-talk. And this negative viewpoint on life, especially if you are diagnosed with depression or do have anxiety, it's incredibly easy to kind of go down this road of life is awful, life, I can't do anything right, life is scary, I don't want to go through with it, everyone hates me, or I hate myself, or just a lot of negative self-talk, right? And it's really easy to build habits out of those words and habits out of those points of view. So when we find ourselves going down that path, it's really, really, really easy to go down this road of building a consistent habit, right? And these habits turn into our daily routine. And once this negative self-talk turns in this daily routine, then we feel like we're stuck with it. So the thought of changing our daily routine is crazy because we're like, why would I, and this is how my life is going to be for the rest of my time here on this earth, and life doesn't get any better or it doesn't change after this, right? Because you're so used to building this negative self-talk. And, when you're so used to feeling a certain way and you have an idea of what life is like, then yeah, that habit is going to stick with you. So the whole idea of healing is incredibly uncomfortable because of that, right? Like, healing isn't supposed to be an easy feat. It's not supposed to be something that is incredibly easy to do. It requires almost like this self-discipline, especially if you went through a rough childhood or you're going through a rough time right now, or if you struggle with any sort of mental illness, right? When we're stuck in this zone of negative and of hardship, it's really difficult to get out of it, and it's scary. And you can become consumed by it. You can become embodied by it. It requires so much self-discipline and so much self-discovery that you push it away, because either you don't have time to do that, or it's like you're just really, really comfortable in where you're at right now. That's not to I keep repeating this because I want it to be remembered. When you're healing, like, whoever tells you it's easy to heal, and whoever tells you it's like easy to get up out of bed in the morning and it's easy to go take a shower, brush your teeth, go eat, it's not easy when you're struggling. And it's okay to be like, it's okay for it to be hard. Okay? I don't know who needs to hear that, but if you do need to hear it, please let yourself embody that thought. Like, it is not easy sometimes to get up in the morning, brush your teeth, take a shower, eat, get changed, get ready for the day, right? When you're in a negative spot in your life, it's so easy for us to just kind of stay in it and like really almost like sink into ourselves and sink into the negative, and those negatives are what lead us to not take care of ourselves, right? Because we don't want to, and we feel like it's almost like another chore for our day. And when you're really in that negative space, then you almost feel like, what's the point? Because you already don't feel a good way about yourself. So it's like, why would I make the effort to feel a certain way when, like, especially if you're really, really deep into the negative. And I just feel as though it's whoever like says that it's easy have clearly either not gone through it, or they're trying to convince themselves of the impossible, because it's really not easy. And I think I'm making this episode mainly to inform people that it's okay for the process of healing to be uncomfortable, because you're not the only one, and you're never alone when it comes to healing. And healing is a difficult thing, and it's pinpointing every single little thing that you don't like about yourself, that you don't like about your life, and all your past trauma and all your current trauma that you're going through, and asking yourself why, right? It's in spirituality we call it shadow work. So it's diving into your whys and figuring out how to fix it. So for example, you can ask yourself of like, why do I feel like I'm not enough? We can stem it to maybe parental figures. We can stem it to maybe friendships telling you that. We can stem it to a past relationship. We can stem it to maybe a certain experience that you went through that was traumatic. Doesn't necessarily have to be a long-term situationship with anybody. So shadow work is all about diving into your whys and getting into it. But shadow work, again, is not easy. It's uncomfortable. You sit there and you wonder why, you feel a certain way, and you dive into it. You cry, you laugh, you get mad, you let out all the emotion that you are suppressing, right? So when it comes to healing, it's all about self-discovery. And I think what makes it so uncomfortable, and I may have mentioned this towards the beginning, is you don't know who you are when you're happy, right? So happiness is a choice that you make for yourself every day. inner peace is something that you can obtain through healing and through happiness, right? You pick and choose how you live your life. You pick and choose what you say to yourself. It's difficult. It takes time. It takes building habits. However, it is incredibly possible for you to heal and for you to obtain that life that you want by changing how you speak to yourself, right? I've mentioned that in episode 2 of my podcast. So when you are embodied by these thoughts, it's so easy to stay stuck in it, and you don't know who you are without your depression, and you don't know who you are without your traumatic experiences, so you stay in it, and I don't want to say that you victimize yourself, but you kind of do, in the sense that you don't know like what your life would be like without a problem, right? So let's say you're having a good day, and you want, like, you know, everything's going great, you've passed a test that you thought you were going to fail, you had a good meal, I don't know, you went to go move around a bit, you danced, you hung out with your friends, you went to the gym, I don't know, you had an amazing day, but then for some reason something clicks towards the end of the night, and you're like, why am I so happy? This is weird. Let me create a problem in my head and kind of sink into it. Sometimes depression does that, and sometimes depression, as someone who is diagnosed with depression, it can turn negative really, really quickly without you wanting it to, right? And sometimes it comes out of nowhere, but sometimes it's by a triggered thought, right? And most of the time it's by a triggered thought. 80% of the time it's a triggered thought. And we can switch that by not letting those triggered thoughts ruin our day, right? So when we're so not used to having a good day, we seek a problem because we're uncomfortable with the whole idea that we're having a good day, and we want to have a problem because we're like, no, I'm not supposed to be happy right now. That's what I mean by victimizing. We do it subconsciously, and not, it's difficult to pinpoint it. And when I was younger, really, really going through different traumatic experiences, I allowed myself to become victimized by these thoughts a lot and thought I had to live by them and nothing was going to ever get better. But as time goes on, you realize that you control your own thoughts, right? And if you allow them to keep coming up and keep ruining your life, and like you think that that's the only option for you and that's all you deserve, then you're going to stay stuck in it, and you're not going to want to make the move of healing. Sometimes you have to go through a bit of an epiphany, right? And it's all about realizing that you control how you feel at the end of the day, and you deserve to be happy just as much as the next person does. You, just because you have depression or anxiety, or you're still healing from various different experiences that you went through in your life, does not mean that you do not deserve to live a happy, healthy life for yourself. And it's going to take some time, but it is totally worth it at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, and when you start building that stuff, you live for yourself, right? And I think that is so incredibly important, especially in this day and age, where, you know, there's a lot expected of the younger generation as well, and, you know, there's so many different things happening in the world, and there's so much news going on around social media and so much hate in the world. I think it's really important to remind ourselves that we deserve happiness as well, and we deserve peace, and like, what does that look like for us? Does peace look like spreading happiness elsewhere for other people, or does peace look like, you know, spending an extra 5 minutes in bed in the morning and like really taking the time to breathe it out? Really figure out what that happiness looks like for you and what that peace looks like, and, you know, you'll have just a peaceful, happy life that you deserve. And it's uncomfortable, but you can do it, and if anyone can do it, you can. And whoever needs to hear this today, I really hope that helped them, because I know it can be difficult to even start a process this daunting and this long, especially when you're not used to it. So I'm really hoping that this podcast almost like gave you a sense of, okay, I'm going to try piece by piece to get on this healing journey. I believe in you. You can do it. You're talking to someone who has gone through a good amount of stuff in her life as well. And I am also going through a healing journey. Don't let yourself become like healing is your main personality trait, because you are you. You are not your healing journey, right? You are not healing. You are not broken. You're not a broken person. You're you. But you're going through a process of putting the pieces back together, right? And that can be uncomfortable, right? You might go through different scenarios that are just like, I don't want to touch on that right now because that's too much, you know? But one day, once you continue discovering who you are and discovering yourself, you'll thank yourself for going through such a daunting process. And I wanted to finish off this episode by sharing a song that I've been really, really enjoying recently. And maybe some of my listeners will know who this artist is. His name is NF. N as in no, F as in fair. NF. He's a rapper, and his newest album is called Hope. I think it came out last year. It's an album really just about like going up in the world and healing from things and like finally deciding to live for yourself. That's like my main description of the album. There's one specific song that he really likes. He actually said in an interview that's called Happy. And I recommend that you listen to that song after this podcast. It's just like 3 minutes. He's a really powerful artist, and I think he speaks about the truth, and he speaks about things that nobody really wants to talk about, right? So I would really recommend that you go listen to his song Happy, and you listen to what the lyrics are saying, because I think it describes perfectly what this episode was all about, and just the whole thought of not knowing who you are if you were to be happy, right? So if I could offer any piece of recommendation in this episode, it's go listen to that song. It's one of my all-time favorites. So yeah, I really hope this podcast reached the right audience, and whoever needed to hear this got to hear it. And I hope you enjoyed this episode this week. As I've said on my social media, there will be a new episode every Monday at 1 p.m. On Spotify and YouTube, and this is Eastern time. So yes, I love you all, and continue to be kind to yourself and love yourself every day, and understand that tomorrow is a new day and you are worthy of it all. So yes, I love you. See you next time.